Hero or villain? Tonight we have an exclusive interview with one Edward Snowden, who is both revered and reviled for spilling America's top secrets. Yahoo Global News anchor Katie Couric traveled to Russia, where Snowden is hiding in plain sight.
Do you think U.S. officials know where you live? Know where you are?
I think they have a general idea. At this point, after 3 years, if they can't figure it out, they're probably not doing their job very well.
This mild-mannered 33-year-old is arguably America's most wanted fugitive, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden.
Breaking details on that whistleblower who leaked top-secret documents.
Faces almost certain criminal prosecution.
For more than 3 years, he's been hiding in plain sight here in the Russian capital. Can you walk around freely the streets of Moscow and not be recognized?
I walked here.
Are you ever recognized?
If I walk out on the street, people have no idea who I am. If I walk into a computer store, everyone in the store will immediately recognize me.
Since August of 2013, he's been living in exile, provided asylum by Russia after leaking an undetermined number, perhaps as high as 1.5 million, classified NSA documents to journalists. His revelations exposed systemic government surveillance of civilians here and abroad, a disclosure that both enraged and embarrassed the American intelligence community.
My name is Edward Snowden.
In 2013, filmmaker Laura Poitras captured Snowden's difficult choice, part of her Oscar-winning documentary, Citizen 4.
We were able to get the information that needed to get out.
You're seen going through a series of security rituals, unplugging phones, covering your head as you type passwords into your computer. You seem keenly aware of a target being on your back.
Those moments, it's actually difficult to watch them on film because the pressure, the stress was so great. You only focused on one thing, and that's the mission.
Edward Snowden was charged under the Espionage Act and faces up to 30 years in prison if he returns to the U.S.
This has done unnecessary damage to U.S. intelligence capabilities and U.S. diplomacy.
Now, with his Russian residency permit set to expire next year, the computer wizard's firewall may be melting. Donald Trump tweeted about you in 2014, writing, "Snowden is a traitor. When our country was great, do you know what we did to traitors?"
I wonder when it is that he thinks America was great. We're a country that was born from an act of treason against a government that had run out of control. But we should always make a distinction that right and wrong is a very different standard than legal and illegal.
Are you saying what you did was right?
I think, yeah.
Or legal, or both?
I would not have done it if I didn't believe it was right.
But you would acknowledge it was illegal.
It's pretty sketchy there. But look, every act of progression in our nation's history has involved tension with law. And that's because the laws were wrong.
There is a lot of talk out there that Vladimir Putin may hand you over to the United States as a goodwill gesture to the Trump administration. How concerned / nervous are you about that possibility?
It wasn't so many years ago that people were saying, this guy's a Russian spy. But countries don't give up their spies. That's a vindication.
A vindication of what?
The fact that I'm independent, the fact that I have always worked on behalf of the United States, and the fact that Russia doesn't own me.
Backed by big money supporters like billionaire George Soros and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey and the ACLU, the Pardon Snowden campaign has been trying to sway public opinion. But as the sun sets on the Obama administration, the prospects of a pardon are dimming as well. If you had 1 minute to make your case face-to-face to President Obama, what would you say to convince him to pardon you?
I wouldn't. I would respectfully say to the president, I understand you have an incredibly difficult job. No one wants to be a whistleblower. This is something that's hard to do, and this is America. When something goes wrong, don't we want somebody to stand up and say something about it?
But after a 2-year investigation, a bipartisan congressional committee has determined the cost was too high. In a scathing report and letter to the White House, the group wrote, "Mr. Snowden is not a patriot. He is not a whistleblower. He is a criminal. But Snowden insists the only thing damaged by his disclosures was the reputation of the intelligence community.
These officials have had every opportunity to show evidence that harm came as a result, and they haven't.
Absent a pardon, Snowden's legal team is hoping for a possible plea deal to keep him out of prison or to reduce his sentence.
How much prison time would you be willing to serve?
I don't put a number on it. When most people who are involved in some sort of case where the government goes, this person was acting in good faith, no charges are ever brought, or they're brought very minimally. Perhaps the best known case in recent history here is General Petraeus.
Fast-moving developments this evening after the stunning resignation of General David Petraeus.
And the consequences of Dave Petraeus' infidelity are astonishing.
Who shared information that was far more highly classified than I ever did with journalists. And he shared this information not with the public for their benefit, but with his lover. They charged him with a misdemeanor.
Only 4 years after his scandal broke, retired General David Petraeus is now being considered to serve in the Trump cabinet as Secretary of State, appearing yesterday on This Week.
I made a serious mistake. I acknowledged it. I apologized.
For Snowden, forgiveness may be harder earned, but it hasn't stopped him from claiming his place on the international stage.
While Edward Snowden is living in a still undisclosed location somewhere here in Moscow, thanks to modern technology, he is able to be part of the virtual conversation, making public appearances via Skype, satellite, and the now famous Snowbot, which is really like an iPad on wheels.
When you look back at the last 3 years, was it worth it?
Absolutely, I would do it again.
No regrets?
No regrets at all.
For Nightline, I'm Katie Couric in Moscow.